Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Thank you for joining me once again for one of these Magic the Gathering box openings. And recently, we have been revealed our 2027 schedule for the releases that will be coming to Magic the Gathering, as well as all of the different MagicCons. Now, the big things that we see is, at least planned, we have 6 new sets that are going to be coming out. Half of them are going to be Universe Beyond, half of them are going to be Universe Within, and we know what they are. We've got a set that is looking like it's going to be based around an undersea metropolis, like Atlantis. It's like a Nauticus or something like that. We're going to get Kamigawa Titanbreach, which is going to be back to Kamigawa. We were always looking to see, like, hey, are we going to go back to Kamigawa at any point? And just hoping, it finally happened. Well, now we get to go back again, which is awesome. And then we also have a Zhalfir block, so based off of entirely Teferi's homeland, which is also going to be really, really cool because we have no idea kind of what's happened since the March of the Machines happened. But let's go back to that Kamigawa Titanbreach. Now, initially, had a couple of people thinking like, oh, maybe is it going to be Eldrazi's that are going to be coming back and potentially invading? And no, we actually got information on it. It's actually going to be our first almost interplanar combat between 2 specific planes, as opposed to Phyrexia invading all of them. It's just going to be essentially 2 planes together. It's going to be Kamigawa and Ikoria. Oh yeah, Ikoria back from 2020 when the COVID shutdown had happened, and we were having this come around, one of the first collector boosters that had come out, and I had a copy of this just on hand for a box, and I thought, well, what better way to celebrate the announcement of a return to, well, kind of an Ikoria set. It's going to be a combination Ikoria and Kamigawa, probably with some big mechs that they were showing. So maybe we're going to get a bonus sheet that will be revolving around Pacific Rim. Maybe we'll get more Godzilla cards. But yeah, we are going to have Ikoria here. Oh, I did not realize that there was a box topper in this as well. Okay, because I think I had mostly just gotten the collector boxes, and it was enough to essentially go through most of the set, so I've never actually seen that. So we're going to have to save that one for later. I did not know that those were in it. Well, this is going to be our original sorts of boosters where we have 36 packs, and there are 15 cards per them instead of our new ones, which is, I believe, 14 cards and 30 packs. So very, very nice of being able to pick up some of these. Now, the big things that we're going to be looking for are any of the Godzilla tie-ins, because those are going to be really good. We're going to be looking for Triomes, because the Triome lands are always really good. I could always use more of those for 3-color or more decks. We're going to be looking for some impactful cards for Commander, like Kinnan and Winota and Dranith Magistrate. There's just a bunch of good cards that we can get from this. Of course, there's going to be some lesser cards in it, but it's going to be a little bit of a blast from the past from 6 years ago with another set upcoming. So let's go right on in. All of these on the top had a Vivian Raid on the front, so I already have multiple copies of her from this set from when it originally came out. Maybe she's going to show up in this one here. All right, starting off, we've got Ferocious Tigorilla. I was expecting this to have some of the mutate costs, but no. So we're just going to go over some of these quickly. We're eventually going to be getting a lot of the commons duplicating here, so at some point we'll go a bit faster. 3 in a red, 4/3, cat ape. A lot of them have this multiple animal types because it's like an amalgamation of chimeras throughout this whole thing. But when this ETBs, it enters with your choice of a trample counter or a menace counter on it. So big thing about these as well, this was also kind of around the time when they were introducing counters for the static abilities like it's showing here of Trample and Menace. So very good of being able to, if you're able to duplicate them and then move them off to other ones like with Tidus, but the only thing with Tidus is that he doesn't run red or black, so he can't run this. Imposing Vantasaur, 5 and a white, 3/6 dinosaur with vigilance and cycling 1. They also did bring a lot of cycling back into this, as we can see it with a lot of the triomes. Unlikely Aid, 1 and a black, instant, target creature gets +2/+0 and gains indestructible until end of turn. I mean, nice little combat trick, keep one thing safe. If you've got a deck where potentially you have an effect like Feather or Zada, where if it's a single target, it affects everything, that'd be great, but both of those, I mean, Feather's in red and white, and Zada's in red, so you'd have to try to find another way around that. Flycatcher, Giraffid, 4 and a green for a 3/5 Antelope Lizard. With it enters your battlefield, enters with your choice of a vigilance or a reach counter on it. You know, something that you can propagate with Tidus if you wanted to. Wingfold Terron, 5 and a blue for a 3/6 dinosaur. When it ETBs, it enters with your choice of flying or a hexproof counter on it. As we can see, a lot of these common ones are just enters in with your choice of whatever counter that you need on it. Dark Bargain, 3 and a black for an instant. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put 2 into your hand and the other into your graveyard. Dark Bargain deals 2 damage to you. So does a little bit of a Sign in Blood effect there, but it's a lot more expensive than it. But you do go through 1 extra card. And unfortunately, we see here kind of like the trade of all of the animal horns as, you know, either trophies or being able to use in things. Pacifism, good old classic, 1 and a white, enchantment aura, enchant a creature, it can't attack or block. This is kind of the basis that we go off of with these sorts of effects there. So anything that gives you more effect than just that is always a benefit there. But as we can see, some sort of magic is placed on it, and it's just a big guy that likes butterflies now. Blister Spit Gremlin, 1 red for a 1/1 gremlin. With 1 and tap, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, untap Blister Spit Gremlin. So, I don't know, maybe this might be something that Hawkeye's Bow might be good to be able to put on a little bit. You know, 1 red mana, you tap it deals 1 to each opponent, then the Hawkeye's Bow deals 1 damage. You cast a non-creature spell, you untap it, and you can do it again. You know, it's not going to be quite as quick as, a 2-card combo that lets you continuously untap the creature to tap it. But, you know, it's a bit way. Cavern Whisperer, our first mutate card. Now, it's always been a little bit complicated with these, but this is 4 and a black for a 4/4 Nightmare with mutate, 3 and a black. We'll get to that in just a moment, but it's going to have Menace, and whenever it mutates, each opponent discards a card. So, always nice to make them discard cards, but mutate. If you cast this spell for its mutate cost, which is a little bit lower than its actual cost, you put it over or under a target non-human creature you own. They mutate into the creature on top, plus all of the abilities under it. So, for example, let's say we had Blister Spit Gremlin, and we're like, okay, you know, this is a 1/1, and this is a 4/4. What we could do is we could play its mutate cost, and we could put it on top of the Blister Spit Gremlin, and it now becomes a 4/4 with these abilities. So it comes in, it mutates, makes your opponent discard a card, and it still gets all of these abilities, but it's a 4/4. So that's kind of the benefit that it has of it. It's the whatever you put on top plus any abilities that is on the card from below it there. Now, the one thing is I don't believe that it mutates into the creature types because it does not say anything about that. It just says it mutates to have the abilities of them. Duskfang Mentor, 2 and a black for a 1/3 human cleric. When it ETBs, you put a lifelink counter on target non-human creature you control, and 1 and a black and tap, you can put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control with lifelink. So kind of a good in a lifelink deck there. Lots of white and black can potentially have that, be able to make those sorts of creatures a little bit bigger. Well, it's not too shabby. Avian Oddity, 3 and a blue for a 2/4 bird with flying, as cycling of 2 and a blue to discard and draw. But when you cycle it, you put a flying counter on a target creature you control. So, a way to be able to put new types of counters in on things. So, maybe something that I look at with the Titus deck, and if I'm looking to put some flying counters on things. But we do have a better version, which is potentially one of the ones that we're looking for in here, the Luminous Broodmoth. It is a mythic, but is one of the better ones that you can get among these. Dire Tactics, white and a black for an instant, exile target creature. If you don't control a human, you lose life equal to that creature's toughness. So, as we've seen before, white and 1 and a black is kind of our standard of being able to destroy a target creature with some sort of restriction, whether it be Doomblade, non-black creature, Go for the Throat, non-artifact creature, Shoot the Sheriff, non-outlaw creature. In this case here, the restriction is that you have to pay a white instead of a generic mana, and you get to exile the creature instead, so a little bit better. You get to exile it, doesn't get its destroy effects, it still gets its leave the battlefield effects, gets around indestructible, and, the other downside is you lose life equal to its toughness, only if you do not control a human. So if you have a human, this is a very, very good removal spell. Okay, and we are starting off with a full art of one of our mythic legendary creatures. So these are going to be essentially the apex creatures on Ikoria. There are 5 of them for the 5 3-color combinations that they chose to do it. This particular one is under the Jeskai of a blue, a red, and a white Vadrock Apex of Thunder. I believe I'm trying to remember if Rodon is the Godzilla card that relates to this one. But this is a 3/3 legendary elemental dinosaur cat. So, has a lot of different creature types on it. Well, it's got mutate of a 1, 2 red, and a white-blue hybrid for a flying first striker with whenever this creature mutates, you may cast target non-creature card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. So, essentially, for paying 1 mana extra on this, it's a little bit more limiting of having the double reds, but whatever you have becomes a flying first striker, however big you want to do it. But then you also get a free creature, you get a free non-creature card, a free instant sorcery, planeswalker, enchantment, artifact, a non-creature artifact. There's so much stuff that you can just get back with this for free that it's pretty nice. And it's in Jeskai, so they deal with a lot of instants and sorceries. So honestly, pretty darn good pickup for that. So good first rare. I think that's the only one we get in here, unless we get a foil one. We get this forest, which has kind of these really interesting trees that kind of shoot up there. Ooh, the other one, the kind of the best card you can get in this is the Ozolith, a rare that just does a whole lot for, I believe, counters on it. Not just +1/+1s, but just counters in general. But nifty little forest. And we're starting off with a double rare pack. This one here being a foil rare and a mythic, an alternate art mythic as well. Hunted Nightmare. Now, we've had some of these before where your opponents get some stuff. That's what makes them hunted. 1 and double black for a 4/5 Nightmare with Menace. And when this ETBs, target opponent puts a death touch counter on a creature they control. Okay, so instead of your opponent getting creatures, they instead put a death touch counter on something. And, you could potentially target your opponent that might have only 1 creature, and they can only put it on 1 singular creature, which is always nice. Or you can't do it on an opponent that doesn't have a creature, because it needs to be an opponent that owns a creature. But yeah, 3 mana for a 4/5 Meneth, with that being the downside. You could politic there, and you're like, yeah, I won't attack you as long as you don't do anything with me, and, you get the death touch counter. Nice little bargaining chip. Okay, good pack to start off with. Apex Predator, as well as a foil rare. Very nice. We've got, I believe, Kogla on the front here. Forbidden Friendship. I believe that we might have seen this one in another, like a reprint somewhere. 1 in a red sorcery, you create a 1/1 red dinosaur creature with haste and a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. There, just get a couple of tokens. If you're looking for a go wide board token deck there, this is a good way to do it. Spontaneous Flight. Ooh, a little bit of a flying Vulpine action. 2 in a white instant, target creature gets +2/+2 until end turn. Put a flying counter on it. Honestly, pretty good in that feather deck because, again, you target feather, then it recreates a copy of it for each creature or something like that, or you target one of your other creatures and it also targets feather. Now, feather already has flying, but I mean, to give multiple things the flying counter and extra power and toughness, that's not too bad. Night Squad Commando, 2 in a black, 2/3 human soldier with 1 at ETBs. If you attack this turn, you create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. Another way of doing go wide board. You can attack in some sort of aristocrat style deck so that you can keep on getting new guys. Okay. The Almighty Brushwag. 1 green for a 1/1 Brushwag with trample and 3 in a green. It gets +3/+3 until end of turn. So, it suddenly just gets really big there, just for 3 more mana than playing Giant Growth. Thieving Otter. 2 in a blue, 2/2 Otter with when it deals combat damage to an opponent, you draw a card. Kind of your classic one there of deal damage, you get to draw a card, but if you've got other ways of doing it, like equipping this with some sort of enchantment or artifact that lets you, let's say, tap it to deal a damage to your opponent. This doesn't say combat damage, so you get to draw the card. Tentative Connection. 3 and a red for a sorcery. This spell costs 3 less to cast if you control a creature with menace. You gain control of a target creature until end of turn. Untap it, it gains haste until end of turn. So if your opponent has a menace creature, you can pay 1 red to essentially take control of it. That's not too bad. Poor Luca, he ended up being a planeswalker, went to help fight against the Phyrexians and got turned into one by essentially connecting with a Phyrexian creature and couldn't be recovered. So I believe Luca is dead. Farfinder. I love cute little foxes there, so get a little bit of antlers on it and some little light bulbs. 3 mana for a 1/1 fox with vigilance. When it enters the battlefield, you can search for a basic land, reveal it, put it in your hand, and then shuffle your deck. Okay. Convolute, 2 and a blue, instant, counter target spell unless its controller pays 4. So, a little bit more expensive than Mana Drain, but you got to pay a little bit extra mana for them to be able to prevent this. Evolving Wilds with some of the cool Ikorian art, very jagged. You've got the red rivers that are coming down the slopes. Very, very intimidating place, which, it's... subtitle is Lair of Behemoths, so yeah, it can be a terrifying place. Excavation Mole, 2 and a green for a 3/3 mole with trample. ETBs, put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. So a little bit of mill action if you're into that sort of strategy. Not the best one to be able to do it, but it is doable at a more discounted price. A budget card. Fight as 1 white for an instant, choose 1 or both. Target human you control gets +1/+1 and indestructible until end of turn. And target non-human creature you control gets +1/+1 and indestructible until end of turn. Arguably, pretty decent combat trick of making 2 of your things a little bit bigger and indestructible, for 1 mana. It's a nifty little one of trying to just one-up them really quickly. Pouncing Shore Shark. Absolutely terrifying. Be careful of the shore sharks. Thinking of that, we also have like the Sharknado card in Ikoria as well. 4 in a blue, 4/3 Shark Beast with mutate 3 in a blue. Again, either put it on top or on the bottom. Gains the abilities of anything on bottom and it becomes a creature on top. So it has flash, so you can play it at any turn. When this mutates, you may return target creature an opponent controls to its owner's hand. So you're able to say... if they're attacking in with something, or it's being impactful on the board, you can return it to their hand before it really does what it needs to do. And Primal Empathy is our next one, which it will be one a red. No. One a green and a blue for an enchantment. Beginning of your upkeep, you draw a card if you control a creature with the greatest power among creatures on the battlefield. Otherwise, you put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control. A decent one there. Just have the best creature out on the battlefield, you draw a card, and if you don't, then you put something on yours and it gets a little bit bigger. Sure, that's that's perfectly fine there, a decent enough card, and I believe we'll have our rare. Yep, Colossification, really interesting one here because you got just a big cat. 5 and double green for an enchantment aura. You enchant creature. When it enters the battlefield, you tap the enchanted creature, and the enchanted creature gets +20/+20. So, unfortunately, it gives a little bit of play around with it, because if you don't have any way to untap that creature, or if you don't play this with by giving it flash in some means, it's just so difficult to play around, because then it's like, okay, well, my creature gets tapped down, I can't really do anything with it. Not quite as good. And a gain land, Blossoming Sands, green and white, and our token. Okay, so this is before our guaranteed foil in each pack as well. So, that is something else to keep in mind, that foils are potentially going to be a little bit better because of that. Now, we were going to able to get more foils in these because of the collector boosters, but, because they're foil, and you don't get one in every pack, could be a little bit more decent. So getting foils are nice. Drannith Healer, 1 and a white, 2/2 human cleric. Whenever you cycle a card, you gain 1 life, and cycling 1. Again, as we can see, cycling was a big mechanic in this one. Unexpected Fangs, probably because it mutated, making a big gash in the neck of this creature. 1 and a black, instant, put a +1/+1 counter and a lifelink counter on target creature. So more lifelink counters, as we saw. Adventurous Impulse, 1 green for a sorcery. Look top 3 cards of your library. You can reveal a creature or land from among them. Put it in your hand. The rest go on the bottom of your library in a random order. Being able to sort through, find the best thing amongst them and put it in your hand. Sure. Phase Dolphin, 2 and a blue, 1/4 elemental whale. A dolphin that's a whale, okay. When it attacks, another target attacking creature can't be blocked this turn. Okay, that's fine. Not the most amazing, but makes something unblockable, sure. Cathartic Reunion to go along with our Forbidden Friendship, as I have it right over here. It looks like it's just, they grew up a little bit over time. He looks a little bit younger here. He has more wrinkles on his face. Obviously, the dinosaur is a lot smaller than it is there. So it's nice that the cards kind of link up like that. 1 and a green, sorceries, additional cost to cast this, discard 2, and then you draw 3. We saw this with the Chandra Nalar and Pia Nalar cards as well. It's okay. Like, you got to discard 2 cards to get 3. I much prefer my big scores and unexpected windfalls, because you only got to discard 1 card. Sure, you gain 2, but depending on what you want, you probably only want to discard the 1 card. Divine Arrow, 1 and a white for an instant. Deals 4 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. A little bit of extra damage to one of those there. Nothing super fancy. Coordinated Charge, 4 and a white, instant. Creatures you control get +2/+1 until end of turn. Cycling 2. Good with a go-wide board, but honestly a little bit too expensive for what it does. You can get probably similar effects and even stronger effects for less at this point. Heightened Reflexes, 1 red for an instant. Target creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn, and you put a first strike counter on it. Now, this is a good one there with Zada or Feather, because getting multiple of those first strike counters on things can be really impactful. Blood Curdle, 3 and a black, instant, destroy target creature. Put a menace counter on a creature you control. Menace counters, are decent, but it's a creature destruction effect, a targeted removal. Not the worst thing ever, but kind of mid. Aegis Turtle. Well, I mean, turtles in and of themselves have never been a super amazing type, but come on. Turtles. 1 blue for an 05 turtle. Generic. We gotta love them. Barrier Breach. Now, this is what I imagine is probably going to be looking a lot like on Kamigawa with everything that's going to be happening with these Titanic entities coming in. 2 and a green instant, exile up to 3 target enchantments, cycle 2. Now, I wish it said enchantments or artifacts. That would be good. Probably a little bit too good, but you know, you got to specifically go up against enchantments, which, you know, against certain decks, they might not run any. So, you know, it's you know, getting rid of 3 enchantments for 3 mana, very good. But the issue becomes of, are you going to use this to get rid of 1? Are you going to use it to get rid of 2? Or are you going to try to wait until there's 3? Unbreakable Bond, 4 and a black for a sorcery. Return target creature from the graveyard to the battlefield with a lifelink counter on it. Okay, a little bit of graveyard recursion there, not too bad. Lifelink is a you know, decent enough counter put on it. It looks a little bit like Winota, but might not be. Majestic Oricon, 4 and a white for a 4/4 unicorn with mutate 3 and a white. And Vigilance, when it mutates, you gain 4 life. So, you know, you gain some life and give something Vigilance there. You know, not the most amazing one. And our rare is going to be Quartzwood Crasher. 2 double red and a green for a 6/6 dinosaur beast with trample. And whenever 1 or more creatures you control with trample deal combat damage to a player, you create an XX green dinosaur beast creature token with trample, where X is the amount of damage those creatures dealt to that player. Okay, so big thing is you get only 1 dinosaur each turn, and you get 1 dinosaur for each damage dealt to an opponent with trample. Okay, I mean, not too bad. I mean, I neglected to get the Ixalan, Caverns of Ixalan commander decks, so I know that there's that Palanza, that's a really popular dinosaur commander that this can go into. There's Gishath that this can go into. You know, there's a lot of interesting ones that you could put this into to just act kind of like that green stompy and just get more green stompy, because those dinosaurs do have trample. Very nice. We'll take that. And this Swamp, which has that kind of elephant graveyard effect that we see in Lion King, just, you know, big bog action. And here we are with some of our counters there. As you can see, Menace, First Strike, Hexproof, Lifelink, +1/+1, Reach, Vigilance, Flying, Death Touch, and Trample. You know, just a lot of different ones. Oh, and Flying. Oh, 2 different flyings. Okay, yeah. You know, it's interesting getting those counters. You know, it's a little bit easier to do them. So, you know, if I want to, I can probably add them in. Alrighty. Let us keep on going. Again, big ones there that we're searching for: Ozolith, Godzilla cards, and Triomes. Lurking Deadeye, 3 and a black, 4/2 human assassin with flash. When it ETBs, destroy target creature that was dealt damage this turn. Okay, so even if it was something that got chump blocked, you can play this after, you know, combat has resolved on your opponent's turn or your turn, and you can get rid of something that you know, stopped like a small token of yours. You can do it of like, oh, you know, you sacked a token to chump block something, and they're like, oh, well, I'm going to get rid of it now. You know, it's a possibility. Humble Naturalist, 1 and a green, 1/3 human druid. Tap to add 1 mana of any color, spend it, or cast a creature spell. So good little mana ramp there for something like Rurik Thar, if you want. It looks like we have like a, I think it's kind of like a Parrot-Cupine or something like that, but it is a card in here, I believe. Startling Development. Looks like maybe one chick just sort of mutated absolutely enormously with something. 1 and a blue instant, until in a turn, target creature becomes a blue serpent with base power and toughness 4/4 and cycling 1 white. So, I mean, depending on what it is, if it's something that needs to deal a whole lot of damage, making it 4/4 is not that bad. But generally, these type of effects are not the greatest. This does not remove abilities, so it can't like negate one of your opponent's things for you to be able to help destroy it. Frenzied Raptor, not Rapper. You know, it's like a big man raptor, that type of thing. So 2 and a red, 4/2 dinosaur, just generic there. You know, probably never going to play it. Solid footing, 1 white, enchantment aura with flash. You enchant creature, enchanted creature gets +1/+1, and it has vigilance. As long as it has vigilance, it assigns combat damage equal to its toughness. Okay, so that's an interesting one there. You know, toughness matters type of deck. If you don't have any of yours out there, you know, for 1 white, potentially get it bigger and deal damage due to its toughness instead. Sure, nifty little trick in those type of decks. Serrated Scorpion, 1 black for a 1/2 Scorpion. When it dies, it deals 2 damage to each opponent and you gain 2 life. Yeah, a little bit of a dies trigger there. Not too bad. Good in a type of aristocrat style deck, especially if you can keep on reviving it. Prickly Marmoset, which was the artwork of the pack that we opened up. 2 in a red, 2/3, monkey with first strike, and whenever you cycle a card, it gets +2/+0 until end of turn. Not the greatest there, you know, it's in the vein of cycling, but it only gets intended turn, so it's not fantastic. Patagia Tiger, 4 in a white for a 3/4 cat with flying. When it ETBs, target human you control gets +2/+2 until end of turn. So it's probably one of the beasts that humans do particularly care to use or something like that. I'm not entirely sure, but you know, if it's giving a human stuff, you know, a human could ride it, I guess. Plummet, a very classic one. 1 in a green, instant, destroy target creature with flying. Yep, you know, that's pretty common there. Get rid of something with flying, especially in this deck, not deck, this set that has a lot of flying stuff. Suffocating Fumes, 2 in a black, instant. Creatures your opponents control get -1/-1 until end of turn. Cycling 2. You know, kind of good in that sort of... I'm trying to remember her name, Massacre Girl, of just trying to get them low enough so that you're able to get rid of them like that. Ominous Seas, I do like this one, especially in like a slower deck or a deck that has a lot of drawing potential in it. 1 in a blue enchantment. Whenever you draw a card, you put a foreshadow counter on it, and then you remove 8 counters and you create an 8/8 blue Kraken creature token. You can cycle it away for 2, but I mean, you draw a lot of cards, you have a deck that allows you to draw a lot of cards, and you just have this 8/8 that's always looming out in the background. Yeah, I like that. Again, not a very fast card, not a very super impactful card, but just a fun little card. Regal Leosaur, red and a white for a 2/2 dinosaur cat with mutate 1 and double red-white hybrid. Whenever it mutates, other creatures you control get +2/+1 until end of turn. Okay, you know, a little bit of a go wide board, just try to swing in 1 turn, get a, you know, mini, what do you call it there? Anthem effect going off to try to do a little bit more. Sanctuary Smasher, 4 and double red for a 6/4 Rhino Beast with first strike, cycle 2 in a red. When you cycle it, you put a first strike counter on target creature you control, kind of like the one that we saw with a bird that gave a flying counter. This one gives a first strike counter, so, you know, another possibility that you could use there. Not the most impactful, but, you know, something that you could use, and I think our rare is up next. Okay, Mythos of Nethroi, Nethroi being one of the other apex predators. And you can see them eating some humans and having one being digested. So this is 2 in a black for an instant. Destroy target non-land permanent if it's a creature, or if green and white was spent to cast this. Destroy target non-land permanent if it's a creature. Okay, so the text on it is a little bit weird. It's essentially saying you destroy target non-land creature if you pay its normal cost, but if you pay a green, a white, and a black, you can destroy any non-land permanent. It's just weird. A weird way of putting it, but yep, you know, got another one there, and we're also going to get the red-green gain land here, Rugged Highlands, with all of these crystals, which, if I remember correctly from the trailer we saw of Titanbreach, that a lot of those crystals are going to come down into Kamigawa, so that's going to be one of the big things we got to be worried about. You know, not only the big creatures coming down, but also the threat of potentially, you know, getting encased in the crystals as well. All right, up next we've got a Sudden Spinnerets, Green for an instant, target creature gets +1/+3 until end of turn. Put a reach counter on it and you untap it. An interesting little one here for a combat trick. You put a reach counter on it, so if they think like, oh, I could attack you with something with flying, well, no, you can't. And you made something a little bit bigger defensively. Now, honestly, kind of goes good in some of those toughness matters decks like Fellothar or Arcades or Door in the Siege Engine, because it's just, hey, here we are making it 3 toughness bigger, so it hits 3 harder, and you get a reach on it, and it's untapped. So if it was tapped originally, I think it's a decent enough common for that deck. Frost Length, 2 and a blue, 2/2 Elemental Cat, ETBs, tap target creature an opponent controls. That creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. Pretty sure we've seen this plenty of times before, lots of reprints. Drannith Stinger, 1 and a red, 2/2 Human Wizard. Whenever you cycle another card, it deals 1 damage to each opponent, cycling 1 for itself. So you got a cycling deck. It's a possibility of putting this one in here to be able to help out a little bit. Checkpoint Officer, 1 and a white, 1/2 Human Soldier with 1 and white, tap target creature. Very common one there of just tapping down things. Deadweight, another reprint that we've seen plenty of times before. 1 black for an enchantment aura. You enchant a creature and they get -2/-2. I'll have to see. There's been some of the Silver Quill in Strixhaven that deal with having enchantments that target an opponent's creatures that they get some sort of benefit. So while this is not that great, maybe it can help out with that sort of deck. Dreamtail Heron, 4 and a blue for a 3/4 elemental bird with mutate, 3 and a blue with flying, and when this mutates, you draw a card. It replaces itself there and gives something flying. Probably not the best. Light of Hope, 1 white for an instant. Choose 1. You either gain 4 life, destroy target enchantment, or put a +1/+1 on target creature. Modal spells are always decent, especially when they're cheap. Another Heightened Reflexes with those first right counters. Told you we were going to start getting into some reprints soon. A Migratory Greathorn, another alternate art for this. 3 and a green, 3/4 beast with mutate, 2 and a green. When this mutates, you search the library for a basic land, put it on the battlefield tapped, and shuffle your library, which is kind of nice there. If you've got a smaller creature that needs something bigger, get some sort of effect by doing that. It gets a little bit bigger base power and toughness. It's like, sure, yeah, that makes this a little bit better. And then you also get to do the fetching, sure, not that bad. Swallow Hole, you get this human coming across some sort of giant monster, and whoops, sorry about that. 1 white for a sorcery is an additional cost to cast this. Tap an untapped creature you control. You exile the tapped creature. You put a +1/+1 on it on the creature tapped to pay this spell's additional cost. So you tap an untapped creature you control. You can exile another tapped creature, and then yours that you have tapped gets a +1/+1 on it. So, and it's not until end of turn, but it's just you can't do an untapped one. That's the only problem. Weaponize the monsters. 1 red for an enchantment. Pay 2 to sack a creature. It deals 2 damage to any target. If you've got infinite mana and you're able to produce a lot of creatures, sure, maybe you're able to do that. Necropanther. Looks kind of dangerous there, and I think that was 3, so I think we might have a foil card in this pack. 1, a white and a black for a 3/3 Cat Nightmare with mutate, 2, and double white-black hybrid. For when this mutates, you return target creature with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So a little bit of a Sun Titan effect, except it's only creatures that you can do it with. But, because it's this white and black and it's very close to Lurrus of the Dream Den, it has a very similar effect to it. So that's interesting. And for our rare, we get a little bit of Whirlwind of Thought, a little bit of Narset in this set there. I can't exactly remember why she's in here. But 1, a blue, a red, and a white for an enchantment. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you draw a card. This was reprinted in Dragonstorm with Narset. Who would have guessed? But yeah, we got that. Thornwood Falls is going to be our green-blue gain land, and for our foil, we're going to have Sanctuary Lockdown. 2 and a white, enchantment, humans you control get +1/+1, so a little bit of an Anthem effect, and you can pay 2 to tap 2 untapped humans you control to tap target creature an opponent controls. Okay, that's not necessarily all that bad. I mean, especially we've got a go wide board with a lot of tokens, sure. And we've got more counters again. All right. Let's go in here. Here's that one that we saw before, and that, can't remember, I think it was a common, but soon enough, we should be going through a whole lot of these. Ram through, I like these. 1 in a green instant, target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. If the creature you control has trample, excess damage is dealt to that creature's controller instead. Now, unfortunately, because it's damage and not considered combat damage, the one that we had here, this Quartzwood Crasher, does not work because it specifically says combat damage. So, but dealing the extra damage is kind of nice, especially if you're getting rid of like a middling creature and you've got something like Galta out there. Facet Reader, 1 in a blue, 1/2 human wizard with 1 tap, draw a card, then discard a card. Okay, a little bit of cycling through your deck is fine. Lava Serpent, 5 in a red, 5/5 elemental serpent with haste and cycle 2. Pretty generic, not going to see much use. Savai Sabertooth, 1 in a white, 3/1 cat. This is a Savannah Lions. It's been outclassed, but just a good old classic, just with a different skin on it. Blitz Leech. That's terrifying there. Giant leeches. Yeah, no, thank you. 5 in a black, 5/2 leech with flash. Makes sense with the blitz. When it enters the battlefield, target creature and opponent control gets -2/-2 until end of turn, and remove all counters from that creature. Very interesting. So get rid of all +1/+1 counters from it. Get rid of all the ability counters from it. So your opponent has something like Yoshimaru out there, which, they're playing a legendary creature deck and it's gotten really big. You're just like, oh, I'll just put this out there. And it would actually kill the Yoshimaru as well, because Yoshimaru in itself is just a 1/1. You get rid of all of its tokens and give it -2/-2. That would be a kill spell on it there. So depending on how you use it, that could be really good. Thwart the enemy, 2 and a green. Instant, prevent all damage that would be dealt this turn by creatures your opponents control. Now, a very interesting one that you could use where you're like, oh man, like they're attacking in on me or I'm attacking in on them and they offer trades. Then you could be like, but I want to keep my creature. Then you could use this as the fog effect to prevent the damage that would be dealt by them to you and creatures you control, which it's not that bad. It's a little bit more expensive than a fog, which is why it's probably not played all that much, but it's an interesting alternative. Gloom Pangolin. Pangolins being one of my favorite animals. 2 and a black for a 1/5 Nightmare Pangolin. I think I can change it. It's just a good boy and wants some belly rubs. Mysterious Egg. 1 mana for an 0/2 egg with, whenever this mutates, you put a +1/+1 on it. So essentially this is mutate fodder, where you put whatever it is that's mutating on top of this so that it gets its stats, its abilities, and then also gets a +1/+1 on it. And I believe that you can mutate more than once as well. So you can give something a whole lot of abilities and you can make this like keep on going up if you want to. Not the best, because then it's just one creature they have to get rid of. But actually, I'll have to look at it when we come across another one. I don't think that the mutate creatures drop off if one of them gets destroyed. I think they all die. Rumbling Rock Slide, 3 in a red sorcery. It deals damage to target creature equal to the number of lands you control. Yep, we saw something like that with like Rocky Rebuke or something like that. Sleeper Dart, 2 mana for an artifact. When it ETBs, you draw a card, and you can tap this to sack it to have target creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. Okay, pretty simple in and of itself there. Just keeps them tapped. Indatha Crystal. So these crystals are based around the triomes. They're 3 mana for artifacts that tap for one of the colors that they are there. So in these, they are going to be shards, I think. Because it's, white and green are next to each other. Well, I guess it depends if Indatha is supposed to be black or not. If it's black, then it's enemy colors there. Well, I guess it's enemies, because Shards of Alara didn't have any of these ones in it, I believe. I believe all of these are revolving around the Tarkir ones, so it would be, I can't remember what the opposite of shards are, but yeah, it can also cycle away for 2, but a decent enough artifact that, pay 3 and it taps for any of your colors, sure. Chittering Harvester, 5 and a black for a 4/6 nightmare with mutate 4 and a black. When this mutates, each opponent sacks a creature. I mean, sacking a creature, again, not that bad, just getting a little bit of extra effect in there, sure. And Parcel Beast, I don't recognize this one. 2, a green and a blue for a 2/4 elemental beast with mutate green and blue. You can pay 1 and tap this to look at the top card of your library. If it's a land, you can put it on the battlefield. If you don't put it onto the battlefield, put it in your hand. Okay, honestly, not that bad. 1 mana each turn to tap this to essentially draw a card, and if it's a land, you just get it on the battlefield. Sure, why not? Just wait until your opponent's turn, pay the 1, tap this, get it out there so that you can use it. Sure, yeah, I dig that there. I don't even know if I got this one in the collector packs, because you only get so many, so yeah, honestly, decent enough uncommon, sure. Rare's going to be, oh, there we go, getting one of our triomes. That's perfect. And it looks like, yep, we're just going to get a swamp there, which has all of those jagged crystals on it. But yes, a triome, a triome, a triome, exactly what we wanted to get in here. The triomes are going to be some of the best ones that we can get. I believe that there are some that I do not have the normal printings for, so I'm absolutely thrilled to get more of these. Savai Triome, Mountain, Plains, and Swamp. Taps for any of those colors, enters tapped, cycles for 3. So, very good with that one that we saw of the that green and blue one here, which was this Parcel Beast there, because it's like, oh, if this is on top of your library, you pay the 1 to tap it, and you see, oh, it's on tap. Well, I get to play it on my opponent's turn, and enters tapped, and then goes to my turn and it's untapped. Sure, yeah. And the best thing about them is that it's got the land types of mountains, plains, and swamps. So you got something that says, please search for a swamp. Get it. As we saw in our cat's secret lair with the Knight of the White Orchid, it said, search for a plains and put it into the battlefield. Well, this is a plains, and Knight of the White Orchid did not say a basic plains. So very, very good to be getting some of our triomes. So amazing, amazing, amazing one for those. Thank you very much. I would be thrilled to get a couple more of those if able. And if we got the Ozolith, that would be awesome. All right, Glimmerbell. 1 and a blue for a 1/3 elemental jellyfish. Flying, 1 and a blue, untap it. Nothing super amazing there. Another Frenzied Raptor, and an opposing Vantasaur again. Mutual Destruction. So I destroy, I die, but I destroy you as well. Sure. 1 black for a sorcery. This spell has flash as long as you control a permanent with flash. Interesting. So I can't remember if Shadow the Hedgehog had flash on it. I know it had haste. But if that's the case, good one in the Shadow deck. Additional cost to cast this, you sack a creature and you destroy target creature. It's 1 black. Very good with aristocrat style deck there, of being able to just say, hey, I get rid of one of my things there and get rid of your best thing. Sure, why not? Another Almighty Brushwag. Frostveil Ambush. 3 and double blue for an instant. Tap up to 2 target creatures. They don't untap during their opponent's next untap, their controller's untap step. Cycling 1, sure. Memory Leak, 2 and a black for a sorcery. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it, from that player's graveyard or hand, and you exile it. Cycle for 1. So, a worse version of Thoughtseize, because Thoughtseize is only 1 black. Sure, you got to pay 2 life, but it's just like, okay, and Essence Symbiote, 1 and a blue, not 1 and a blue, 1 and a green for a 2/2 beast with whenever a creature you control mutates, you put a +1/+1 counter on that creature and you gain 2 life. Now, I just thought, with us bringing back Ikoria into things, it might give us the first reprint of Ozolith, because I believe we don't have a reprint of, I think we've never had a reprint of Ozolith, and it's a good card, so it's like, that's why it's so expensive. But, you know, like, that would be an opportunity for them to reprint it. But whenever a creature, yeah, I talked about that one there, okay. Another Light of Hope, another Dark Bargain, Boon of the Wishgiver. This is one of our other ones. I'm trying to remember. It has to be blue. I wonder if, was it Sultai, maybe? That would be my guess, is that it's Sultai colored. 4 and double blue for a sorcery, draw 4, cycle for 1. I mean, again, we're drawing 3, what is it, draw 2 cards for 3 mana, so yeah, it kind of makes sense, but, you know, it's a little bit expensive for that, so I'm going to pass. Keen Sight Mentor, 2 and a white, 1/4 human cleric. Enters the battlefield, put a vigilance on target non-human creature you control. 1 and white, tap, put a 1/1 creature on each creature you control with vigilance. So if you got a lot of vigilance creatures, a lot of extra 1/1s on it, not that bad. Okay, another alternate art here. Hunt Master Liger, 3 and a white for a 3/4 cat with mutate, 2 and a white. Whenever this mutates, other creatures you control get +X/+X until end of turns, where X is the number of times this creature has mutated. So this is showing that, yes, you can mutate more than once, and, you know, there is some risk to it, but by doing so, you can give your go wide board a whole lot, potentially. So, you know, that is an option for it. Rare is going to be an Extinction Event. 3 and a black, sorcery, choose odd or even. You exile each creature with converted mana cost of the chosen value. Kind of harsh. I mean, you do something like that. I think I talked about it before with, what's that called? It was an Eldrazi that your opponent couldn't cast even spells. I can't remember exactly what it was, but yeah, you know, good way to be like, oh, you can't cast even spells and you've only got odd stuff. Well, let's get rid of all the odd things. And we're going to get Swiftwater Cliffs, which is our blue-red gain land, and we've got all of those crystals still there. Lots and lots of crystals and more counters for us. All right, going into another Kogla pack. Can we get another double rare pack? Or is that going to be the only foil rare we get? Pyroceratops. Okay. And 3 and a red for a 2/3 elemental dinosaur with trample. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you put a +1/+1 on it. Okay. You know, a little bit similar to the, prowess trigger, but, you know, a permanent one is kind of nice. It's just a little bit too expensive. Perimeter Sergeant, 2 and a white, 3/2 human soldier. Whenever it attacks other humans you control, get +1/+0 until end of turn. So, you know, a little bit of a boon for all of your humans. Corpse Churn, 1 and a black, instant. Put top 3 cards of your library into the graveyard. Then you may return a creature from your graveyard to your hand. Okay, put a little bit more mill in to get some more stuff in there and then get back something good. Sure. Bristling Boar, 3 and a green, 4/3 boar. Can't be blocked by more than 1 creature. Okay, you know, have to be jumped or something like that. Not the most amazing. Another Wingfold Terron. Shredded Sails, 1 and a red for an instant. Choose 1. Destroy target artifact. Deal 4 damage to target, or destroy... Sorry, not destroy. Destroy target artifact, or it deals 4 damage to target creature with flying. You can cycle away from 2. So you got those pterodons essentially ripping apart one of these hot air balloons. Day Squad Marshal, 3 and a white for a 3/3 human soldier with, when it ETBs, you create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. There's your little creature token, and you've got the Marshal here with their absolutely massive sword. Like, are you sure that you can hold that? Like, I understand monster charges at you, all you gotta do is just, like, hold it up so that the end sticks in the ground like a lance, and they charge onto it, but then at that point there, should you just use a lance? Hampering Snare, 1 and a blue instant. Creatures your opponents control get -2/-0 until end of turn, cycle away for 2. I mean, not that bad because it's an instant and it gets all of your opponent's creatures, so could be doing a lot less damage. But honestly, not the most amazing, but just a little combat trick if you want it. Survivor's Bond. 1 and a green for a sorcery. Choose one or both. Return target human card from your graveyard to your hand. Return target non-human card from your graveyard to your hand. Getting back 2 creatures for 2 mana. Pretty darn good. Lead the Stampede. 2 and a green sorcery. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal any number of creatures from among them. Put them into your hand. The rest go on the bottom of your library in a random order. You know, potentially getting a whole lot of stuff into your hand. Sure, you know, that's fine. Jubilant Skybonder. 1 and double white-blue hybrid for a 2/2 human wizard with flying. Creatures you control with flying have spells your opponents cast that target this creature. Cast 2 more to cast. Okay, so this is one of our early precursors of Ward. So essentially flying creatures have Ward too. Yeah, I've got a flying deck. You know, this is a interesting one that I could put into that, or, you know, if I can give some flying counters to stuff in the Titus deck, you know, this is another potential one to have it like that. And this is also a flying creature, so it also gets that ward too. Sure. Auspicious Sterix. 4 and a green for a 6/6 elk beast with mutate 5 and a green. So maybe a good mutate thing. Whenever this mutates, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile X permanent cards, where X is the number of times this has mutated. Put those permanents on the battlefield. Ooh, yes. Free permanents for the number of times you mutate this. That is a very, very good one there. Oh, absolutely. Now, it sucks if your opponent gets rid of it. And there's nothing that says here about, you know, if one of the mutated creatures dies, you just get to keep the other one. Nope, they both go away. So it's just like you put a lot of risk onto it there, but that's a really good benefit. So if you've got like a smaller one there that mutates for a much lower cost that just kind of gives it a generic ability, that's pretty good. And rare is going to be a Slither Wisp. Very, very creepy one. Blue and double black for a 3/2 Elemental Nightmare with Flash. Whenever you cast another spell that has Flash, you draw a card and each opponent loses 1 life. Okay, so you have a deck that revolves around Flash and have this one out, and you're just like, yeah, I'll play all my stuff on your turn, and whenever I do, I draw a card and you lose a life. Not a Phyrexian arena effect of like, I draw a card and I lose a life. No, it's I draw a card and you guys lose life. Yikes. Yeah, I want to put that in some sort of Flash deck. Forest, and we're going to have a little foil here, which is going to be an Alert Heed Bonder. 1 and double green-white hybrid for a 2/4 human scout with vigilance. Beginning of each end step, you gain 1 life for each creature you control with vigilance. Okay, you know, a little bit of extra way to gain some life. Get a little, if you've got a lot of vigilance on the field, sure. You know, that's a decent enough one. Not an amazing one, but, you know, a decent enough budget card. All right. Next up, we've got Helica Glider. A 2 and a white for a 2/2 Nightmare Squirrel. There are definitely some of these that I don't remember. Like, I remember Slither Wisp, like the artwork on it. I didn't remember what it did, but I don't remember a Nightmare Squirrel. But this enters the battlefield with your choice of a flying or a first strike counter on it. Okay, you know, that's fine. I mean, you know, get the counter on it and then, you know, mutate something on top of it and make it bigger or something. Another unlikely aid for that combat trick. Wilt, 1 and a green, instant, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Cycle 2, you know, just a little bit better version of, I'm trying to remember what it's called. It's like, not Return to Nature or whatnot, but, you know, it's a very common one there of just like, oh, you know, Naturalized, that's what it is. Naturalized, that does the same thing of like, you destroy an artifact or enchantment, but this one gets the added benefit of having the cycle 2 just in case you don't need that effect. Sure. Keep Safe, 1 and a blue, instant, counter target spell that targets a permanent you control, draw a card. Sure, you know, prevent something from hitting one of your permanents and you get to replace this afterwards. And like, that's the only condition. Sure, why not? Another Forbidden Friendship, Savia Sabertooth. Volpakeet, very, very cute fox bird. I would definitely want to have one of these. It's so adorable. 3 and a white, 2/3 Foxbird with mutate 2 and a white with flying, and whenever it mutates, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. So, this is a good one there with that one that we saw that lets you play things from the top of the deck for free, because it's like, okay, you play out the other one and you mutate this onto it so it gets flying, a +1/+1 counter, and you get your free one there. Sure, why not? Another Aegis turtle. We love our turtles. Spring Jaw Trap, 1 white for not 1 white, 1 mana for an artifact with flash, and 4 and tap. Sacrifice it to deal 3 damage to any target. It does have flash for our Slitherwisp, but this is too expensive for what it does. Boot Nipper. It looks like some sort of like Nightmare Hippo, but it's just a beast. 1 and a black for a 2/1 beast that enters with your choice of a Death Touch counter or Lifelink counter on it. Okay, Death Touch creature, we'll take those. Will of the All Hunter, 1 and a white for an instant. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. If it's blocking, instead put 2 +1/+1 counters on it, cycling 2. So good to be able to defend something with, if, be like, okay, I block your creature and then it gets 2 +1/+1s on it. It's an right one. This is Snapped Axe, so that's going to be one of the other Apex Predators from Ikoria. Clash of the Titans. Titanbreach. Now we can see it. 3 and double red for an instant. Target creature fights another target creature. Okay, that's pretty expensive to do it in red. I guess because it's in red, it does that. Because, green we have like Prey Upon, which is just 1 green. So it's 4 extra mana to do it in another color. Probably not. Channeled Force, another Narset card. 2, a blue, and a red for an instant. As an additional cost to cast a spell, you discard X cards. Target player draws X cards. Channeled Force deals X damage to up to 1 target creature or planeswalker. This would be a card that if you could redirect it, it's so mean because, they've got to discard additional cards and they're like, I'm going to get rid of my hand to deal a lot of damage and I get to refresh my hand. And then if you've got something that redirects like deflecting SWAT or something like that, then it's like, oh, sorry, or return the favor. It's like, yeah, so I get to draw those cards and I will deal damage to whoever I want. That's nasty. It's a card that's not used a whole lot, so, you don't necessarily have to worry about it, but it was like, yikes. And our rare is going to be Obosh, the Prey Piercer. Now, this is going to have one of our other special mechanics in it. This is 3 and double black-red hybrid for a 3/5 legendary Helion Horror with Companion. Companion being that you can have it set aside from your main deck if certain conditions are met. And originally, you would be able to just play it. You could cast it from outside of the game from its command zone to be able to bring it in, and you essentially start with an 8th card. But it was such a powerful mechanic that they eroded it to be you have to pay 3 mana to bring it into your hand first. And that made it a lot more fair. But still, some of them were broken. So in this case, Obosh's companion cost is your starting deck contains only cards with odd converted mana cost and lands. So if you only have odd costs like this one here, then you'd be able to have this on the outside. And if a source you control with an odd converted mana cost would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals double that damage to that permanent or player instead. Some of these are very interesting, some like different ways that you could potentially do some deck restrictions on it and make it interesting, but sure. Windscarred Crag, a red-white gain land, and our Human Soldier token. Okay, 4th of the way through, and seeing some of our cool things. Nothing overly exciting yet, with the exception of our 1 Triumph. All right, next up, we've got a Durable Coilbug, 1 and a black, 2/2 insect with 4 and a black. Return it from your graveyard to your hand. A little bit of recursion there, sure. Another Flycatcher Giraffid, another Phase Dolphin, another Tentative Connection, Blade Banish, Okay, so it looks like the Wanderer showed up here. I forgot all about that. 3 and a white for an instant. Exile target creature with power 4 or greater. There are ways that we've gotten that for less mana for like 1 and a white. So, you know, very outclassed now. Another coordinated charge. Fully grown 2 and a green for an instant. Target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn. You put a trample counter on it. You know, it's a giant growth with the added effect of paying an extra 2 mana for a trample counter, so you got to see if that's worth it. Fiery Prophecy, which I always thought was a weird card because it's just this one blazing eye that reminds me of like Evil Eye of Orm's Begorm. 1 and a red for an instant, deals 3 damage to target creature. You may put a card from your hand on the bottom of your library if you do draw a card. I mean, put a card you don't need on the bottom and you draw an extra card. It's not that bad. Adaptive Shimmerer, 5 mana for an 0/0 insect with flash. You know, good with our Slither Wisp. It enters the battlefield with 3 +1/+1 counters on it. You know, that's about it. It's a 5 mana 3/3 for flash. Nothing too amazing. Easy Prey. Sorry, did you think you were going to get this one? Well, you didn't know you were getting stalked yourself. 1 and a black instant, destroy target creature with converted mana cost 2 or less, cycling of 2. So, you know, get rid of something cheap. Valiant Rescuer, 1 and a white, 3/1 human soldier. Whenever you cycle another card for the first time each turn, you create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. This cycles for 2 itself. You know, it's okay, you know, in a cycling deck can go a little bit more. And, oh, well, we got the Necropanther before, and this is going to be its alternate art version of it. Pretty darn scary. I mean, it's got 4 front legs that it can attack you with, 4 eyes to be able to see more. It's got an Espeon tail, too, which is interesting. But, yeah, you know, we'll take alternate forms. I don't know if I have all of these alternate arts. Next up, we've got our rare is going to be the Shark Typhoon. That's exactly what I was talking about. Hell yeah, you know, we got another one of these. I believe I only have one. So getting another one is kind of great. I will absolutely take this. 5 and a blue for an enchantment. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you create an XX blue shark creature token with flying, where X is its converted mana cost. That's not a once a turn effect, that's just as many non-creature spells that you cast. So you could potentially cast something big. You can also cycle away for 1, a blue, and X to draw a card, but when you cycle it, you create an XX blue shark creature token with flying. I really like this card. It's not amazing, it's not fast, but it's Sharknado. It's so cool. We're going to get a mountain there with all of the peaks. Again, some more of our crystals coming out, and we got a foil here, which is going to be, 2 foil rares, a Whirlwind of Thought. So already got this one in the packs there, so would have been great if it was a different rare or even just a better rare in general. But 2 rares that are foils and one of these where rares foils are not guaranteed in each pack. Sure, yeah, we'll certainly take that. Another foil Narset, I guess. All right, get up to the next one here. Another Lurking Deadeye for that destroy something that was dealt combat damage. Or is it combat damage? Oh, nope, just dealt damage. Thwart the enemy, Facet Reader, Go for Blood, 1 and a red, sorcery. Target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. See, this is what I thought that one for like the Clash of the Titans would be. You know, it's a sorcery, but is like it as an instant worth 3 extra mana? I don't think so. And some other thing that I thought of with this is that you could do something like have like a cheap card that's like, oh, you know, like it deals like a damage to each thing, and you could use that one since it's not combat damage needed. Another Divine Arrow, Bushmeat Poacher. Poacher's not so great. 3 and a black, 2/4 human soldier. 1 and tap, sack another creature. You gain life equal to its toughness. You draw a card. I mean, in a Toughness Matters deck, you know, potentially getting rid of your creatures to gain a lot of life, you know, that's a way to potentially do that, especially you get to draw a card afterwards. If you've got ways of making tokens in it, like walls or anything like that, you know, maybe that could be good in it. Also good in the Aristocrat style. Another Memory Leak. classic Essence Scatter with just some beautiful artwork on this. Now, we saw this one before in our recent one. Which one was that? It wasn't Marvel, I don't think. And it wasn't TMNT. Oh, what was Strixhaven? Yeah, I think it was the recent Secrets of Strixhaven had one where it was like the creature all bisected. But this one here, it's like we've got some sort of nightmare creature and it's getting turned into butterflies. Very, very beautiful. I would like this one as a foil if I could. It just looks that good. You know why it looks that good? Because I looked at it again, I'm like, wait a second, I recognize this art style. It's Seb McKinnon, my favorite Magic the Gathering artist. Wow! Getting another card of his, awesome. Blazing Volley, 1 red for a sorcery, deals 1 damage to each creature your opponents control. Again, pairs well with this Lurking Deadeye if you want to do it that way. Zagoth Crystal, again, like I talked about with these crystals, 3 mana for an artifact, taps for 1 of the 3 colors. This one here, it's going to be the Sultai, the black, the red, and black, green, and blue. Cycles away for 2. Okay. Wingspan Mentor, 2 and a blue for a 1/3 human wizard. With ETBs, you put a flying counter on target non-human creature you control. Pay 2 and blue, tap it, put a +1/+1 on each creature you control with flying. So it looks like we've got some sort of cycle with all of these mentors, which it was like Vigilance was 1. This one is flying. So in my deck that deals with like having a bunch of creatures with flying, yeah, pay 3 mana and I put a bunch of +1/+1s out. Sure, why not? Grim Dancer, 1 and double black for a 3/3 nightmare with when it ETBs with your choice of 2 different counters on it from among Menace, Death Touch, and Lifelink. Very interesting. Yeah, it's very menacing. It is super ghoulish with that face there. It's got the skull on it, but then it's just got the slavering mouth underneath it there. Most monsters are more frightening when they skitter unseen in the dark. Most. Yeah, I'd be pretty scared of this one here. But yeah, absolutely terrifying. And Crystalline Giant is going to be our rare. 3 mana for a 3/3 artifact creature giant. Beginning of combat on your turn, you choose a kind of counter at random that Crystalline Giant doesn't have on it from among Flying, First Strike, Death Touch, Hexproof, Lifelink, Menace, Reach, Trample, Vigilance, and +1/+1. You put a counter of that kind on Crystalline Giant. Okay, now this one is interesting for the Titus deck because, the Titus deck has a lot of the +1/+1 counters, but you could propagate one of these other ability counters on this and then be able to proliferate those counters and then distribute them among your other ones there to make them even more powerful. That's a nice little pickup there for me to be able to see. Sure, I'll take that. And Jungle Hollow, our black and green gain land, which has some of these eggs on it there, probably from some sort of dino. And I know we don't get rares in every pack, but this one has another one. Another Excavation Mole, as we saw before, breaking through all of those pink crystals there. So nothing super fancy on that one. Going up with this Marmoset here, and this should be a third of the way through our packs. Hopefully we're going to be getting a lot more commons that we know of because we're already starting to run a little bit long. A Honey Mammoth, just like Sweet Things. 4 and double green for a 6/6 elephant. ETBs, you gain 4 life. Yeah, look at there. It's cracking open a giant beehive just to be able to drink a lot of honey. Capture Sphere, 3 and a blue for an enchantment aura with flash, enchant creature. When Capture Sphere ETBs, you tap enchanted creature. Enchanted creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. Now this is a continuation off of the Cathartic Reunion and the Forbidden Friendship. This is like the middle one here where they gotta break him out of the stasis ball. Raking Claws, 1 and a red for an instant. Target creature gains double strike until end of turn. Cycle 2. Okay, that can be pretty dangerous. I mean, give this to like Wolverine and it makes sense. He's got Raking Claws and he needs some double strike, right? Oh, a Garrison Cat. Look at him. He's just so proud out there. He's going to make sure that everybody's going to stay in order and gives him all the treats as possible. 1 white for a 1/1 cat that when it dies, it creates a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. That's really sad. Your cat dies because it gets eaten by some monster, and you're like, well, I got to destroy that monster now. That's sad. Unexpected Fangs. Mosscoat Goriac, 2 and a green for a 2/4 beast with vigilance. Okay, not that great. Another cool art, Evolving Wilds. Essence Symbiote. Crustacean, like a crystal crustacean, 3 and a blue for a 1/6 crab with flash. Okay, flash to get in with your sliver wisp. What was it called again? Slither wisp. There, but it's also crabs. People love crabs. Snare Tactician, 2 and a white, 2/3 human soldier. Whenever you cycle a card, tap target creature and opponent controls. Bastion of Remembrance. Now, this is a good uncommon card, so great pickup on this one. 2 and a black, enchantment. ETBs, you create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses a life and you gain a life. Very, very good on that one. Absolutely love getting extra copies of those. Trumpeting Gnar. Oh, Gnar. It's like how some people say no. Weird. 1, a green and a blue for a 3/3 beast with mutate 3, double green, mutate cost of 3 and double hybrid green-blue for when this mutates, you create a 3/3 green beast creature token. I prefer getting the free permanent off the top of my deck instead, so I'm probably going to be focusing on that other one, to be honest. Flame Spill, 2 and a red for an instant. It deals 4 damage to target creature. Excess damage is dealt to its controller instead. A little bit too expensive. Again, Lightning Bolt is 1 red for 3 damage. Rare is going to be an Eerie Ultimatum. So we also finished up our Ultimatum sets, which started off on Alara. And now we've got all of these other ones to be able to finish them off. That showcase, I believe, they might showcase all of the Apex Predators. Maybe. Double white, triple black, and double green for a sorcery. Return any number of permanents with different names from your graveyard to the battlefield. Honestly, good with Commander. It's not all that expensive, though, because, it costs a whole lot to get that effect there. But because pretty much every Commander deck that you have has different creatures, sure, it's a way to just resurrect all of your stuff. A Plains there with kind of looking more like your standard Plains. I don't see much in terms of the crystals on the ground there. And a Catbird. Look how cute that guy is. Coochie, 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 coo. All right. Okay, starting up with our second third here, now that we're a third of the way done. Okay, Savai Sabertooth, Durable Coilbug, Flycatcher Giraffid, Phase Dolphin, Tentative Connection, Blade Banish, Plummet, Cloud Piercer. We almost went through with just all commons that we had before, but it's an alternate art. 4 and a red for a 5/4 dinosaur with mutate 3 and a red for reach. When this mutates, you may discard a card if you do draw a card. Not super amazing there. You get to rummage around. Meh. Sleeper Dart. Vulpikeet, another cutie. Boon of the Wishgiver, we got that one before. Keensight Mentor, we got that one. General's Enforcer. White and a black for a 2/3 human soldier with legendary humans you control have indestructible. So potentially, good in a legendary creature deck. It has to be legendary humans though, so potentially giving your commander indestructible. A white and a black for exile target card from a graveyard. If it's a creature, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. So a little bit of graveyard hate on the card as well. You got to pay quite a bit of mana for it, but you can get rid of specific cards at instant speed. And a rare is going to be a Cub Warden in the alternate art. 3 and a white for a 3/5 cat with mutate 2 and double white for lifelink. Whenever it mutates, you create 2 1/1 white cat creature tokens with lifelink. So you see the little 2 of them there that are doing it. Yeah, it's okay. Essentially it's like, okay, you can pay it for 4 and get a 3/5 with lifelink, Or you can make sure you're paying an extra white, mutate onto something, and you get 2 other creatures. Now, you don't necessarily get the 3/5, but you could mutate it onto something that's weak already that has maybe a good ability. A Rugged Highland again with our green-red Gainland and more counters. Okay. Still only 1 mythic, though. Can we get some more? That'd be nice. Would be bad if we just got 1 mythic. Lurking Deadeye, Thwart the Enemy, Facet Reader, Go for Blood, Divine Arrow, Bushmeat Poacher, Dark Bargain, Rumbling Rock Slide, Hampering Snare, Mysterious Egg. Okay, we went through, had all commons. Ivy Elemental, X and a green 0/0 elemental with it enters the battlefield with X/1/1's counters on it there. Not that great. I mean, you can get that effect with Hydras, and they generally have bonus effects on them there, so gonna pass on it. Like, even though it can go in the Primo deck, use ones that have additional abilities on it. Footfall Crater, that is a big footprint, seeing that that's a human. 1 red for an enchantment aura, Enchant Land. Enchant Land has tap, target creature gains trample and haste until end turn. Honestly, that's not that bad. Essentially giving a land the ability to give your best thing trample, or to have it say, you know, the next creature that you have enters the battlefield, you can give haste. Yeah, sure, I'll take that. Boneyard Lurker, another really creepy thing. It's a Nightmare Beast, so it makes sense. 2, a black and a green for a 4/4 Nightmare Beast with Mutate 2 and a hybrid, double hybrid black-green for when it mutates, return target permanent from your graveyard to your hand. Again, mutate it on something small because it's the same cost to mutate it as it is to play it there. I mean, yeah, you know, get your permanent back. And our rare is going to be Song of Creation. 1, a green, a blue, and a red for an enchantment. You can play an additional land on each of your turns. Whenever you cast a spell, you draw 2 cards, and at the beginning of your end step, you discard your hand. So it's a weird one where you draw cards. You draw a card each turn. You can play additional lands. Whenever you cast a spell, you get to draw 2 cards, but you discard your hand at the end of each turn. It's just such a steep downside, which is why it doesn't really get played. You don't want 0 cards in your hand. You can't really plan things around it. And at the end of your turn, if you do that, you can't interact with your opponent's stuff. You can't play a counterspell or a combat trick. It's all telegraphed on your board. And another plains with some other type of crystals shooting up in it. And our dinosaur from our Unlikely Friendship, or whatever that was called. It's nice that they gave him his own creature token. Unlikely Friendship, that's what it was. Next up, another Honey Mammoth, liking its sweets. Captures Feared, there he is. Raking Claws, Garrison Cat, Cooch Cooch Coo, Unexpected Things, Moscow Goriak, Day Squad Marshal, Blazing Volley, Cavern Whisperer, haven't gotten this one yet. 4 and a black, 4/4 Nightmare, Mutate 3 and a black, Menace. When this mutates, each opponent discards a card. I think that we actually got this, just this is the alternate art of it. That's probably why I didn't recognize it. But yeah, I mean, sure, you know, it's nice to make them discard cards. I've got my decks that make them discard, but I don't know. I'm not sure if it's really good enough to put in there. Another beautiful Sedmekinen Essence Scatter. Void Beckoner. Now, I believe that this is the one that has the Godzilla card that is like the Death Corona that was like super expensive during COVID and then like dropped off heavily because of like it just wasn't worth it. But it's interesting because it's 6 and double black for an 8/8 Nightmare Horror with Death Touch. Yeah, it looks horrific, and it's absolutely huge because it's like, look at all of those clouds that are around it there. This is absolutely behemoth of a creature. But it has Death Touch and cycling 2 and a black. And when you cycle it, you put a Death Touch counter on target creature you control. So instant speed, put Death Touch counter on something. Sure, why not? That's interesting. Zagoth Crystal again. Archipelagore. 5 and double blue for a 7/7 Leviathan with Mutate 5 and a blue. Whenever this mutates, tap up to X target creatures, where X is the number of times this has mutated. They don't untap during their controller's next untap step. So it's another one of those ones that, you know, based off the number of times you mutate it, you got to be very careful because you do it too many times and it's just a big target. Rare is going to be Unpredictable Cyclone. I don't think I recognize this one. 3 and double red for an enchantment. If a cycling ability of another non-land card would cause you to draw a card, instead exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a card that shares a card type with the cycled card. You may cast it without paying its mana cost, then put the exiled cards that weren't cast on the bottom of your library in random order, cycling 2. Very interesting. So, like, very good in a cycling deck where, you know, you're not drawing the card, but you can potentially cast things for free. So if you've got small cycling things that, you know, don't do much, like cycle away for like 1 or 2 mana, then you could just play something potentially big for free. It's unpredictable. Yeah, it's nice. I might have to look into that. Dismal Backwater. This is our black-blue gain land. And that is going to be the end of that pack. So potentially a one that I didn't even have before. Interesting. Okay. Can we get anything else cool? Keep Safe. Spell Eater Wolverine. My goodness. Wolverine. What was it? I can't remember. I'll call him the Irascible Wolverine. Would probably like this one as well. 2 and a red for a 3/2 Wolverine. Spell Eater Wolverine has double strike as long as there are 3 or more instant and or sorceries in your graveyard. Okay, so pretty easy for it to get up to there. Blade Banish, Durable Coil Bug, Bristling Boar, Gust of Wind, 3 and a blue for a sorcery. Costs 2 less to cast if you control a creature with flying. Return target non-land permanent you don't control to its owner's hand. Draw a card. Not that bad. I mean, with the flying one, my flying deck there, have a flying card in it, get rid of a nuisance, make them replay it, draw a card to replace this afterwards, sure. Fertilid, okay, this is a reprint. 2 and a green, 0/0 elemental, enters with 2 +1/+1s on it. You can pay 1 and a green to remove a +1/+1 on it to have target player search their library for a basic land and put it on the battlefield tapped and then shuffle. I guess technically could go well in a deck that has a lot of proliferation, but there's probably a limit to the amount of basic lands that they have in it, depending on how many colors that they have. So that would be the only thing that you'd have to worry about with it. Crustacean, Boot Nipper, Rooting Moloch. Okay, 4 and a red for a 4/4 lizard. When it enters the battlefield, exile target card with a cycling ability from your graveyard. Until the end of your next turn, you may play it. Ooh. Okay, so that's good with a cycling deck, potentially being able to play your extra cards that you've already cycled out. Sure. Interesting. Back for More. Yikes. That's one of those horrors. 4 black and a green for an instant. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. When you do, it fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. Okay, so you bring back something big, and you essentially destroy one of your opponent's things. Insatiable Hemophage. Another really creepy one there of just skin and bonesy. You know, it bites into something, and it just blood is spraying everywhere with it. 3 and a black, 3/3 Nightmare with mutate, 2 and a black, Death Touch. When it mutates, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life for X number of times this is mutated. Now, unfortunately, it's not good enough because like, the number of times you mutate it, the bigger the target it gets on it. Rare is going to be okay, we get the same mythic in here, just the 2 different versions of it. Honestly, I'm pretty sure I have this art of it. I don't think I have this art of it, so this is actually kind of a decent pickup for me. So, very interesting. You know, we'll absolutely take it there. It's another mythic. But that's kind of funny of getting them like that. I wish that there was more variety, but I'll certainly take it because, again, I don't think I have that artwork of it. An island with all of the crystals on it there, and I think we've got a foil here. Another Dire Tactics, so that whole one of have a human, You don't have to worry about the exiled creature, so that's a nifty one. We'll absolutely take that. Ooh. D&D Theros, because there was the Theros book that they had on it. Okay, going to our next one here. Well, we've gotten 2 mythics so far. Can we get another one that's different than the 2 that we have? Raking Claws, Drannith Healer, Whisper Squad, 1 black for a 1/1 human soldier. Pay 1 and a black, search your library for a card named Whisper Squad, put it on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle your deck. Unfortunately, you can't play more than 4 of them, so, you know, you can't do the thing with, like, Ravenous Rats or Knights Templar or anything like that. Too bad. Humble Naturalist, of 1 mind, 2 and a blue, sorcery, costs 2 less to cast if you control a human and a non-human. Draw 2 cards. Ooh. Draw 2 for 1 mana. That's not that bad. You know, you just got to make sure you've got a human and a non-human. That could be pretty possible. So that's an interesting one. Another Ferocious Tigerilla. We saw this one at the very beginning. Snare Tactician, Survivor's Bond, Farfinder, Gloom Penguin. Yeah, I can fix him. Wingspan Mentor, Storm Wild Caprador. 2 and a white for a 1/3 bird goat with flying. If non-combat damage would be dealt to Stormwild Carpador, prevent that damage and you put a +1/+1 on it for each 1 damage prevented this way. Honestly, really good in a deck that has red in it so that you could play Blasphemous Act, prevent the damage, and give this 13 +1/+1 counters. Yikes. Proud Wild Bonder. 2 and double red-green hybrid for a 4/3 human warrior with trample. Creatures you control with trample you may have this creature assign its combat damage as though it weren't blocked. Okay, so you can just be like, send all the damage to your opponent. Interesting. You know, probably pretty good in a, beatdown deck with a lot of tramplers in it. And our rare is going to be a Ruinous Ultimatum. So we've got another one of our ultimatums here. Double red, triple white, and double black for a sorcery. Destroy all non-land permanents your opponents control. You know, one-sided board wipe. None of your stuff goes away. All of your opponents do. It's just a rain of arrows there. You know, this one city here is just absolutely defending itself super hard. Blossoming Sands for our green-white gain land, and we get one of those. So we've gotten 2 ultimatums. Okay. They're not the best, but, you know, I'll still take them there. What do we have next? Rub for a little bit of luck. Spontaneous Flight with our cute little flying fox. Corpse Churn, Ram Through, Frost Lynx, Spell Eater Wolverine for our Irascible Wolverine. Patagia Tiger, Dreamtail Heron, Plummet, Memory Leak, Migration Path. 3 and a green, sorcery, search your library for up to 2 basic lands. They go on the battlefield tapped and shuffle your library, cycle for 2. Mystic Subdual, 1 and a blue, enchantment aura flash. Enchant creature, the enchanted creature gets -2/-0 and loses all abilities. Interesting. Okay, so this is a way of keeping your opponent's guys from doing things, because losing all abilities on an enchantment is pretty good. Lord Dracus, another alternate art here. 1 and a blue-red for a 2/3 lizard beast with mutate double blue-red hybrid for when this mutates, return target instant or sorcery from your graveyard to your hand. That's kind of nice. Getting to return an instant or sorcery and you just get that sort of effect there? Sure, why not? I'll take that. And our rare is going to be another ultimatum, Genesis Ultimatum. So now we've gotten 3 of them. Double green, triple blue, double red for a sorcery. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. Put any number of permanent cards from among them onto the battlefield, and the rest go into your hand. Exile this. So being able to just put a whole bunch of permanents onto the battlefield is good, especially if you know what's on top, so you can do that. Sure. Not the best one, though, because it's only 5. Our creepy Elephant Graveyard Swamp, and we've got another rare here, which is going to be Foil Thornwood Falls, our gain land for green and blue. All right. We are halfway through, and hopefully we can go through this second half a little bit quicker since we've gotten a lot of the commons and uncommons here. Helica Glider, our real little nightmare squirrel. Serrated Scorpion, Greater Sandworm, 5 and double green for a 7/7 worm. Can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less, cycling 2, so isn't as easily chump blocked. Glimmer Bell, Lava Serpent, Maned Serval, 1 and a white for a 1/4 cat with vigilance. Nothing too amazing there. I mean, toughness matters deck. It's a cheap one maybe. Pacifism, Anticipate, 1 and a blue, instant. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. One goes in, put 1 into your hand, the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Being able to pick the best of 3 things, sure. Suffocating Fumes, Excavation Mole, Blitz of the Thunder Raptor, which is this, so it's on there. 1 and a red for an instant. Blitz of the Thunder Raptor deals damage to target creature or planeswalker equal to the number of instant or sorceries in your graveyard. If that creature or planeswalker would die this turn, exile it instead. Okay, nice little removal there in a Spellslinger deck. They're being able to get a whole bunch into your graveyard and deal a lot of damage to one thing. Charge of the Forever Beast. Now it's another one of our Apex creatures there, Brokos. 2 and a green for a sorcery. As an additional cost to cast a spell, reveal a creature card from your hand. It deals damage to target creature or planeswalker equal to the revealed card's power. Honestly, this could be really good in a dinosaur deck because a lot of dinosaurs have a lot of power to them. Splendor Mare, 2 and a white, 3/3 elk unicorn with lifelink and cycling 1 white. When you cycle it, you can put a lifelink counter on target creature you control. Again, this could be something that I put in the Titus deck because of the cycling. And our rare is going to be a Labyrinth Raptor. Black and a red for a 2/2 Nightmare Dinosaur with Menace. Whenever a creature you control with Menace becomes blocked, defending player sacrifices a creature blocking it. Oof. You got a deck with a lot of Menace in it? That could be pretty nasty because they've got to sack one of their creatures. For a black and a red creature you control with Menace, get +1/+0 until end of turn. And makes them all bigger too. Yikes. Scoured Barrens, white-black gain land. So we're getting close. Maybe we have most, if not all, of the gain lands at this point. Looks like they are not going to be restricting them to just 5. It's going to be all 10, which makes sense. I mean, they're not super that impactful that you'd have to limit them like the Triomes. Whisper Squad, Sun Spinnerets, I like that one. Thieving Otter, Drannith Stinger, Checkpoint Officer, Light of Hope, Cloud Piercer. We saw this one in the alternate art, and now we see it here, getting really tall. Migratory Greathorn, same thing. We saw the alternate art of this. This is the regular version of it. Adaptive Shimmerer, Exuberant Wolf Bear, 3 and a green for a 4/4 Wolf Bear. When Exuberant Wolf Bear attacks, you may change the base power and toughness of target human you control to Exuberant Wolf Bear's power and toughness until end of turn. So if you got a small one, sure, why not? Sprite Dragon, super, super cute. This is what Nahiri was playing around with. A blue and a red for a 1/1 Fairy Dragon with flying and haste. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. So really good again in the Spellslinger deck, something that gets a little bit bigger. Hornbash Mentor, 2 and a green, 3/3 human warrior. When it ETBs, you put a trample counter on target non-human creature you control and pay 2 and a green, tap it, put a +1/+1 on each creature you control with trample. Again, something else that you could put into that Titus deck, potentially proliferate out trample tokens. And our rare is going to be an Everquill Phoenix. 2 double red for a 4/4 Phoenix, mutate 3 and a red with flying, and when this mutates, you create a red artifact token named Feather with pay 1 and sacrifice it to return target Phoenix from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So if this dies, then you can bring it back and very easily. But it's also very good with other Phoenixes because it's just target Phoenix. So you could bring a Phoenix that was already gone that's really powerful as well. Something to think on. Another one of our mountains there, looking up between some sort of crag in the earth. Just a few crystals here, and another foil for us, which is going to be another Mutual Destruction. Okay, nice little one there. Very cool there. It looks like one of these Whisper Squad guys that are going in. All right. Get that one all set. Get on in for our next pack. Another Blitz Leech, okay. Adventurous Impulse, Gust of Wind, Shredded Sails, Garrison Cat, Night Squad Commando, Fully Grown, Blood Curdle, Convolute, Prickly Marmoset, Reptilian Reflection. So, reflecting in all those different crystals, 2 and a red enchantment. Whenever you cycle a card, you may have this become a 5/4 dinosaur creature with trample and haste in addition to its other types until end of turn. So, an interesting one, again, good in a cycle deck. So, you cycle away a card and you make this a 5/4. Sure, why not? Escape Protocol. 1 and a blue enchantment. Whenever you cycle a card, you may pay 1. If you do, exile target artifact or creature you control, then return to the battlefield under its owner's control. Again, cycling deck, this could certainly help out with ETB triggers. Skull Prophet, black and a green for a 3/1 human druid with tap to add a black or green, or you can tap it to put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard. So a little bit of extra mill there and a mana dork in and of itself. Okay, rare is going to be... Oh, there we go. We did get another mythic, and it's another Luminous Broodmoth. Not our Mothra, per se, but Luminous Broodmoth is a decent one here. 2 and double white for a 3/4 insect with flying. Whenever a creature you control without flying dies, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a flying counter on it. So you got to get rid of things twice. And if you can protect this somehow, that's really good. Don't necessarily need to proliferate out the tokens with Titus there so that, you're not giving it to creatures and essentially they get double chances to live. You could also move, if you wanted to, those flying counters onto just one thing so that if all of your things die, they come back still. Yeah, it's very nice. Jungle Hollow green, black and green gain land. I really, really like the Luminous Broodmoths. I think that they're really, really good. So glad to get another one. And we're at 3 mythics, so I think we just need a couple more to be all set with kind of our goals in at least getting mythics. Rub this pack for luck. Greater Sandworm, Startling Development, Cathartic Reunion, Springdraw Trap, Perimeter Sergeant, Deadweight, Volpakite. We've got another artwork of it, the full art version. Sleeper Dart, Mysterious Egg, Fire Prophecy, Call of the Death Dealer. This is that Nethroi, another one of the Apex Predators. 2 and a black, sorcery, return up to 2 target creature cards with total converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Put a death touch counter on either of them, and then a menace counter on either of them. So you could put the death touch and the menace on one. You could put one on each of them there, whatever you want. Just a way to get 2 things back, but they have to be like 0 and 3 mana, or 1 and 2 mana, or 2 1-mana ones. It's nothing gonna be super big. Heartless Act, 1 and a black, instant, choose 1, destroy target creature with no counters on it, or remove up to 3 counters from target creature. Very, very sad. I know it's a monster to them, but it's still a beautiful creature. So that's too bad. Rare is going to be... Oh, nope, looks like we get another one first. Zenith Flare, 2, a red and a white, instant, deals X damage to any target, and you gain X life, where X is the number of cards with a cycling ability in your graveyard. Again, really good with cycling. Now our rare is Voracious Great Shark. For whatever reason, these sharks just have flash, because they're just pouncing out to get you. 3 and double blue for a 5/4 shark with flash. When an ETB's counter target artifact or creature spell. A counter on a shark. Who would have guessed? And another mountain here with it looking almost like a castle there, but it's not. But yeah, a counter, like a shark counter. Who would have guessed? It's a weird one there, but a 5/4, it's nothing to scoff at. That after you play a expensive counter spell. Sweet Little Honey Mammoth, Of One Mind, Pyroceratops, Solid Footing, Bushmeat Poacher, Wilt, Gloom Penguin, I Can Fix Him, Fertilid, Patagia Tiger, Flourishing Fox, 1 white mana for a 1/1 fox with, when you cycle another card, you put a +1/+1 on this, and you can cycle for 1. So another one there potentially of, same thing of cycling deck. Neutralize 1 and double blue for an instant, counter target spell. Cycle away for 2. You know, a little bit more expensive than a counter spell, but because of that, you know, it's got the cycling. Porcuparrot, like I said, it's on that naturalist guy. 3 and a red for a 3/4 bird beast with mutate 2 and a red. You can tap this and this creature deals X damage to any target where X is the number of times this has mutated. So again, you know, you mutate it once, it's only going to deal 1 damage to one target there. So not super amazing. And our rare is going to be Yadaro Wandering Monster. 5 and double red for an 8/8 legendary dinosaur turtle with trample and haste. Cycling of 1 and a red. When you cycle it, you shuffle it into your library instead of your graveyard. If you cycle the card name Yadaro Wandering Monster 4 or more times this game, you put it onto the battlefield from your graveyard instead. So if you've got a lot of them in your deck, like if you're playing a, you know, 60 card format there, you know, being able to just put one out onto the battlefield for 2 mana, you know, a trample haster for an 8/8, not that bad, you know, and it just goes back into your deck. So, I mean, you could do it, but not the most amazing one there. You know, it's an 8/8 with trample and haste, essentially. A forest, and we have a foil here of, ooh, nice little foil island here. Very, very beautiful on that one. I like how all the crystals are really shimmery. All right. And with this, we're going to be 2/3 of the way through. Marmoset, what do you have in store for us? We're looking for a couple more mythics. Frostvale Ambush, Go for Blood, Main Serval, Mutual Destruction, Moscow Goriak, Capture Sphere, Crustacean, Cloud Piercer, Essence Symbiote, Anticipate, Monster Step, 4 and a green, sorcery, target creature gets +7/+7 until end of turn. Up to 1 other target creature blocks it this turn if able, so you can force your opponent to block with something they kept back, which is always nice. It's just a little bit expensive. Sonorous Howlbonder, 1 and a double black-red hybrid for a 2/2 human warrior with menace. Each creature you control with menace can't be blocked except by 3 or more creatures. Okay, so you're making menace even harder. So, you know, definitely good in a menace-style deck. So, yeah, good to get that one. Glowstone Recluse, 2 and a green for a 2/3 spider. Mutate 3 and a green with reach. When this mutates, you put 2+1/+1s on it. So, you know, it's just giving something reach and 2+1/+1. So, not the most amazing. And is this our rare? Oh, yes, it is. And it's a good one. It's a Drannith Magistrate. 1 and a white for a human wizard. Your opponents can't cast spells from anywhere other than their hands. So that means they cannot cast things from their graveyard. They cannot cast things from the top of their deck. They cannot cast things from exile. So if they've got some sort of like impulse draw effect that's like exile the top card of your library and you can play it this turn, well, they can't play it because it's not from their hand. But more importantly, they cannot play things from the command zone. They played something from the command zone. That's not from their hand, is it? So this is one of the good rares that you can get from the set, but also one that people hate to play against. Tranquil Cove, our white-blue gain land. Now, we haven't gotten this one yet, and a beast token. Okay, getting into the last third. Let's see if we can rub for luck. No Vivian Raid, which is fine. I don't think that she has a really good Planeswalker card anyway, but it would be nice to get another Triome, you know, 1 or 2 more Triomes, maybe a couple more Mythics as well. Night Squad Commando, Greater Sandworm, Startling Development, Cathartic Reunion, Springjaw Chap, Springjaw Traps, Perimeter Sergeant, Hampering Snare, Survivor's Bond, Volpakite, Aegis Turtle, Unbreakable Bond, Ketria Crystal. Okay, this is going to be our 3-mana green, blue, and red mana rock there. Nice. Proud Wildbonder with the Trample guys, and our rare is another Shark Typhoon. Okay, I only had 1, and now I've got 3, so I'll certainly take that. Thank you very much. Thunderwood Falls and a Human Soldier. Okay, very, very interesting. I wasn't expecting to get multiple Shark Typhoons, but I'll certainly take them. Okay. Up next, what do we got? Dead Weight, Honey Mammoth, Of One Mind, Pyceratops, Solid Footing, Bushmeat Poacher, Springdraw Trap, Boot Nipper, Coordinated Charge, Fully Grown, Exuberant Wolf Bear, Heartless Act, Primal Empathy. We're getting a lot of the uncommons again here. Rare is going to be, a Mythic, and this is a card that I don't have, so that's really nice. Riel the Everwise. It's probably not worth all that much, but I'm still thrilled because it's a brand new card for me. A blue and a red for an 0/3 legendary human wizard with it gets +1/+0 for each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard. Really good with spell slinger deck. Whenever you discard one or more cards for the first time each turn, you draw that many cards. Interesting. So, that's very good with the cycling. You cycle a card each turn, you draw an extra card essentially. Or if you've got some sort of wheel effect, you discard 7 cards and you draw more. This is also one that can go into the Harry Osborn deck because it deals with discarding a lot of cards. So, discard cards to get some sort of benefit and you get to draw those cards back. Yes, absolutely. I will absolutely take that. Nifty little card for me. Maybe not a necessarily popular one, but I'll certainly take it. And another cool of our islands there. Very nice. We got, this one is definitely brand new. Luminous Broodmoths is always nice to get, and I don't have this artwork yet. And we've got a lot of Shark Typhoons. Okay, so that was a good boost to morale there. Rub for a little bit of luck with our Marmoset. Wilt, Frostveil Ambush, Go for Blood, Main Serval, Mutual Destruction, Mosscope Goriac, Fire Prophecy, Adaptive Shimmerer, Memory Leak, Seb McKinnon, Essence Scatter, Zagoth Mamba, 1 black for a 1/1 Nightmare Snake with when this mutates, target creature an opponent controls gets -2/-2 until end of turn. Not that great there. I'm going to be straight up with you. Another Barrier Breach. Polywog Symbiote, 1 and a blue for a 1/1 frog. Each creature spell you cast costs 1 less to cast its mutate cost. Okay, that's good for a mutate deck. Whenever you cast a creature spell, if it has mutate, draw a card, then discard a card. Okay, not that bad. Being able to help out, make mutate easier. There, mutate in and of itself is not the most powerful ability, so, might not be the best. And our rare is going to be a Keruga, the Macro Sage, another one of our companions. Probably, I think, one of the worst ones, though. 3 and double green-blue hybrid for a 5/4 dinosaur hippo. Your starting deck contains only cards with converted mana cost 3 or greater in land. So, probably can't cast anything on turns 1, 2, or 3. Well, you might be able to play it on 3. But when this enters the battlefield, you draw a card for each other permanent you control with converted mana cost 3 or greater. So you can draw a lot of extra cards there, but you're not playing a whole lot of cards on your turns, unfortunately. That's why it's not that good. Scoured Barrens and a token. And we are 3/4 of the way through. Come on, we want to get another Mythic. We want to get another Triome. And then we also have our Box Topper, which I didn't even realize these had. Capture Sphere, Ferocious Tigerilla, Imposing Vantasaur, Unlikely Aid, Flycatcher Giraffid, Blazing Folly, Evolving Wilds, Essence Symbiote, Crustacean, Clash of the Titans again. Oh, that's why this is so good. I was like, why is it so much? I read this wrong. This says target creature fights another target creature. This does not have to be your creature. So you can have your opponent's creatures fight each other and essentially kill each other off. That's nice. Okay, that's a little bit more worth the cost. A Trumpeting Gnar. Flame Spill again, and our rare will be an Emergent Ultimatum. So we've gotten 4 of our ultimatums. That's very interesting. We just need 1 more. I don't even know which one. So that's Sultai, and we've gotten Temur, we've gotten Mardu, and we've gotten Abzan. So we've gotten all of the green, and so let's see here. We need white, potentially. White. We've gotten all of the black as well. So white, blue, and green. No, that's Bant. Is the last one banned? I wouldn't think so. I mean, we've got all of these Tarkir ones. What's the last one that I can't think of off the top of my head? Sultai, Abzan, Mardu, Jeskai. Okay, Jeskai is the last one there. Okay, that's what we're missing. But Emergent Ultimatum, double black, triple green, and double blue for a sorcery. Search your library for up to 3 monocolored cards with different names and exile them. An opponent chooses one of them. Shuffle that into your library, and you may cast the other cards without paying their mana cost, then you exile this. Okay, so you can pick 3 of your best things that are monocolored. Your opponent picks one that goes away, and you get the other one just onto the battlefield. So again, another one that's not that great comparatively, so, but, you know, it's one that we'll have. Swamp, I haven't gotten this one yet there. Nice little, you know, spire in the midst of everything there. Again, would be great if we got the Ozolith, and our foil is going to be, ooh, foil Lurrus of the Dream Den. Our card that is so good, it's been banned in places. Yeah, this one is just so good. 1 and double white-black hybrid for a 3/2 legendary Cat Nightmare with Companion. Each permanent card in your starting deck has converted mana cost 2 or less. Again, in Modern, Legacy, Vintage, you want to have things that cost very little. This has lifelink, and during each of your turns, you may cast 1 permanent spell with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard. Ah, man, I played my Black Lotus, and I've used it once there. I wish I could use it again. Oh, man, I've got Lurrus of the Dream Den, which allows me to play it really quickly with Black Lotus. I wonder where that went really bad. Yikes, yeah. Lurrus was too strong in older formats where 1 and 2 cost spells were just running rampant, and, you know, in those internal formats, and it was just absolutely bonkers. So that's a good rare, good foil pickup too. 3 foil rares. That's pretty nice. I don't remember a box that I got 3 foil rares in it that wasn't collectors. Rub this one for luck as well. Winged Terron, Forbidden Friendship, Spontaneous Flight, Night Squad Commando, Almighty Bushrag, Snare Tactician, Blood Curdle, Blister Spit Gremlin, Fully Grown, Sanctuary Lockdown, Duskfang Mentor. Yeah, we got that one. Alert Heedmonder, we got this one in foil, and our rare is going to be Mythos of Vadrock. So the Mythos of this guy, 2 and double red for a sorcery with, this heals 5 damage as you choose among any number of target creatures and or planeswalkers. If white and blue was spent to cast this spell, until your next turn, those permanents can't attack or block, and their activated abilities can't be activated. So potentially you just say, like, okay, you know, I pay this, I hit 5 different things using the white and blue, and they can't attack or block until my next turn. So it's like I'm protected from them attacking in. They can't stop my things, and they can't use any activated abilities. You know, it's not too bad. Or you could just get rid of stuff as well. It's nice. A nice lake here for this island with the crystals growing around. And we got another foil here of a Migratory Greathorn just with its regular artwork. All right. That's all fine and dandy. Next one here. Come on, we still have one more Mythic, one more Triome. Can we do it? Can we get an Ozolith as well? Ozolith would be like the premier one to get. Thieving Otter, Tentative Connection, Drannith Healer, Unexpected Fangs, Adventurous Impulse, Phase Dolphin, Dreamtail Heron with its alternate artwork here. Looks a lot more menacing. Boot Nipper, Convolute, Prickly Marmoset, Neutralize, Valiant Rescuer, Jubilant Skybonder. Again, I can definitely use this one. And our rare is going to be a Yorion Sky Nomad, another one that got banned, but for the worst reason possible. Yorion Sky Nomad, 3 and double white-blue hybrid for a 4/5 legendary Bird Serpent with your starting deck contains at least 20 cards more than the minimum deck size. Okay. So why was this flying? When this ETBs, exile any number of other non-land permanents you own and control. Return those to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. So why was this banned? Well, it's because they thought people had weak wrists and that they couldn't shuffle a slightly larger deck, even though Commander is a thing and people shuffle a 100-card deck. Oh no, you know, they've got fetch lands and whatnot, so they're shuffling a lot more often. You shuffle a whole lot in Commander too. Like, grow up, kind of, just grow up. Yeah, but very good in a flicker deck there. I'm absolutely going to put some in a flicker deck there. Windscarred Crag and a companion reminder card. I didn't know that these existed, so I certainly don't have one, so that's actually pretty cool. Hey, yeah, that's an interesting one to get in there. All right, come on, rub for luck. We can do it. We can still get cool and interesting cards. But, this is great, like, flashback to the past. Cathartic Reunion, Divine Arrow, Lurking Deadeye, Humble Naturalist. There's that Porcuparrot, Startling Development, Frenzied Raptor, Farfinder, Blazing Volley, Fertilid, Day Squad Marshal, Frill Scare Mentor, 2 in a red, 3/2 Human Warrior, ETBs, put a menace counter on target non-human creature you control. 2 in a red, tap, put a +1/+1 on each creature you control with menace. So again, another good one with the menace deck there. Certainly will take that. Easy Prey, and I think our rare is here. Oh, nope, it's just going to be a alternate art for that Archipelagore, which I'm not sure if I got this one there. So, even though it's an uncommon and probably not really worth anything, I'm glad to get it in. It helps out with completing out the collection. Nice. Okay, now it's our rare, which is a Dirge Bat. Okay, so alternate art Dirge Bat here, 2 in double black for a 3/3 bat with mutate 4 in double black. That's kind of expensive. With flash, so good with the flash deck as well. With the, was it the slick? Wow, I'm really doing bad at remembering some of these. Slitherwisp. Flash and flying. When this mutates, destroy target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. Hey, I mean, yeah, again, play it out for 4 and you put on a cheap mutate cost onto it there and be able to destroy something. Sure, why not? I'll absolutely take it. Another one of those peaceful planes there. All right. Only 5 packs left. 5 more chances to get some cool cards, and then we get our box topper. Solid Footing, Serrated Scorpion, Sudden Spinnerets, Frost Lynx, Tyrannus Stinger, Checkpoint Officer, Aegis Turtle, Survivor's Bond, Rumbling Rockslide, Anticipate. Another Ominous Seas is good. Sonorous Howl Bonder, good for the menace. Huntmaster Liger, this is just the regular artwork, which, again, I don't think I have this regular artwork for it either because I only got the 2 the 2 collector boxes. And it was much more common for you to get these in the alternate art. So not having this and now getting it helps out the collection. And our rare is going to be Death's Oasis. I don't recognize this one either. A white, a black, and a green for an enchantment. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard. Then return a creature card with lesser converted mana cost than the creature that died from your graveyard to your hand. Pay 1 to sacrifice this. You gain life equal to the greatest converted mana cost of creatures you control. Interesting. So you can gain a lot of life with that, but potentially getting a whole lot of milling going on and then being able to bring back your creatures. Yep, that's an interesting prospect, sure. And we get a forest, and we get our human soldier token. Okay, so new rare. That's decent. Probably not going to be super impactful, but I mean, honestly, don't care too much about it. Most of these are just to complete out the collection and get some interesting cards, make some interesting decks. Dead Weight, Ram Through, Facet Reader, Lava Serpent, Savai Sabertooth, Blitz Leech, Snare Tactician, Migratory Greathorn, Hampering Snare, Will of the All Hunter. Ooh, another Bastion of Remembrance, another really good one to be able to play. Good to get that one. Savai Thundermane. Red and a white for a 3/2 elemental cat. Whenever you cycle a card, you may pay 2. When you do, this deals 2 damage to target creature and you gain 2 life. So a little bit of like a Lightning Helix action when you cycle cards. Okay. Is this going to be the rare? Yep. Mythos of Bracchus. So we also got 3 Mythos. This one looks a little bit more passive towards people where the other ones weren't. 2 in double green for a sorcery. If blue and black was spent to cast this, search your library for a card, put that card into your graveyard, and then shuffle your library. Return. Okay, so the base effect of this is return up to 2 permanents from your graveyard to your hand. So you bring 2 things back to your hand, but if you spent extra mana, you essentially tutor up a card that you would want to put into your hand with this. Not that bad, actually. I mean, it's not the greatest thing ever, but it's not that bad. Bloodfell Caves, okay, we're still getting gain lands that we didn't get the different artworks, and we've got a foil here of, oh, Auspicious Sterix. That was the one that we really liked, of being able to play the exiled cards. Yeah, we'll absolutely take a foil of that one. Okay, 3 more packs left. Not that many more attempts to get those triumphs or that extra mythic, if we can. All right. Thwart the Enemy, Glimmerbell, Frenzied Raptor, Imposing Vantasaur, Mutual Destruction, Almighty Brushwog, Suffocating Fumes, Pacifism, Blister Spit Gremlin, Reconnaissance Mission. Okay. I think I only have 1 copy of this from the the collector boxes. So that's a good one there. 2 and double blue for an enchantment. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card. Cycle away for 2. But the big thing here is that it's a permanent enchantment on the battlefield to just be able to do it. It's not an enchantment aura that goes into 1 creature. So it's very, very good of getting you to draw extra cards. I really, really like Reconnaissance Mission. Titanathoth Rex. 7 and double green for an 11/11 dinosaur beast with trample, cycling 1 in a green. When you cycle it, you put a trample counter on target creature you control. So, way to get trample on it, put that into the Tidus deck potentially. A alternate art of the Boneyard Lurker. I don't recognize this one, so, maybe that's a nice one to get as well. We'll certainly take that. And our rare is going to be a Mythos of Netheroi again. So, doubling up on this one here. Being able to destroy a non-land permanent there. Okay, it hits everything, so that's why it costs like 1 extra mana there. We're going to get a plains, and our foil is going to be, a 4th foil rare. Another cute little catbird there. But yeah, okay, so 4 foil rares. 1 double blue for a 2/2 octopus with mutate 1 and a blue with flash. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Okay, not that bad to put in as a mutate there. Being able to just, play essentially for 1 and a blue to get that effect at flash beat. It's like Ophidian Eye, except it's on a creature that you could potentially play as well. Not that bad. And, well, I guess it's not like Ophidian Eye. It's different. This is whenever it deals combat damage. Ophidian Eye is better because it's just any damage. So, a little bit more limiting, I guess. I wonder if you use this in your, in like a ninja deck that has a lot of ninjutsu. If you attack in with things and you return this to your hand, if you can then mutate it again because it's got the flash. Who knows? Okay, penultimate pack. Frostvale Ambush, Pyroceratops, Perimeter Sergeant, Corpse Churn, Bristling Boar, Windfold Terron, Cavern Whisperer. That was the one that we got that we read again because I was like, looks different because it was full art. Excavation Mole, Adaptive Shimmerer, Heightened Reflexes, Lead the Stampede, Momentum Rumbler. 3 and a red for a 3/3 dinosaur with whenever it attacks. If it doesn't have first strike, you put a first strike counter on it. And whenever it attacks, if it has first strike, it gains double strike until end of turn. Interesting. Okay, so being able to get extra first strike counters out. If it's got first strike, it gets double strike. Sure, why not? Interesting little one that I don't really remember there. Something else we haven't got is like the Gem Hide Razor or something like that. It's the one that's on the box cover art with with Vivian Raid. And another Chittering Harvester there with the make them sacrifice a creature. A rare is going to be, we did get another mythic. Oh yeah, we got another one of the Apex Predators. We only got 2 of them, 2 different ones of Vadrock, and this is Snapdax. Snapdax, Apex of the Hunt. 1, a red, a white, and a black for a 3/5 legendary Dinosaur Cat Nightmare with mutate 2, a hybrid black, red, and double white For a double striker, double strike is always nice. Whenever this creature mutates, it deals 4 damage to target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls, and you gain 4 life. So if it mutates, then you essentially do a big lightning helix, and something gets double strike, whether it's this or the other thing. But 3/5 is nothing to scoff at for that. So Thunderwood Falls and the human. Hey, we got that. We got another mythic there. It's another one of our Apex Predators. It would be great if the last pack had a Triumph, or maybe even the Box Topper. If the Box Topper had one as well, I wouldn't mind that. But I imagine that the Box Topper is probably one of the Godzilla cards. That would be my guess. Okay, last pack. Final pack. Ultimate pack. Rub for luck. Can we get another Triumph? Triumph or a Ozolith would be great. Shredded Sails, Helica Glider, Unlikely Aid, Wilt, Keep Safe, Forbidden Friendship, Seb McKinnon's Essence Scatter, that's a good one to get. Coordinated Charge, Cool Evolving Wilds, Fire Prophecy, Savai Crystal, so we get our 4th of these crystals. This one is going to be the Mardu one, taps for our red, white, or black. Channeled Force again. Another Grim Dancer, very, very creepy guy. Does not look like we have a foil in this one, so this is going to be our last one here. Rare of the pack is a Mythos of Snapdax. Okay, so we did get a 4th of our Mythos there, I believe, because that's Nethroi, Brokas, Vadrock, and then we got another one of the back here, right? Yeah, another Nethroi. So that's 4 of the Mythoses. Okay. 2 and double white for a sorcery. Each player chooses an artifact, creature, enchantment, and planeswalker from among the non-land permanents they control, and then sacrifices the rest. So they choose only their best things, and everything else goes away. If black and red was spent to cast this, you choose the permanents for each player instead. This is a very good removal there. Mass board wipe there. You get to choose their worst stuff. And if something is an artifact and a creature, you can pick both as the artifact and the creature there. So that's a nifty little one there. Oh, and we've got the commander deck there of that guy that has the Deadly Rollick in it. Well, that was the last of the normal cards, but we do have this box topper, which, again, I don't know what's in it since I've never gotten one of these normal boxes, but I imagine this is going to be one of the Godzilla cards. So that is my guess. So let's take this out. It's foil, so that's something. All right, drum roll for our final card. Is it going to be a cool Godzilla card? It is, and I don't have Rodon yet. Oh my goodness, that's so good. It's a foil one too. Well, that's our 3rd Vadrock that we had. We got every single version of it. And I was right that it was Rodon that is this one here. Oh my goodness. That's so good on so many levels, because I think the Rodon one, this is really good because it's based off of a mythic, so it's harder to get. It's foil. It's decent. Oh my God. And I don't have it yet either. This is good. I think it's like this one and Biolante, which is like Brovos, whatever this one was, Brokos. I think Brokos I don't have, or is it the other one? No, it's the white, black, and green one there, the Nethroi, I think it was, that I don't have that one, which I think is Biolante. But oh my goodness, that's so good. Wow, that's a good way to end it all off. We didn't get our 2 Triumphs like we wanted, but I mean, hey, we got some good mythics here with another mythic in our box topper as well. All versions of Vadrock, which is funny there, and got a bunch of these Mythoses and plenty of other little mutate guys and some interesting ones as well. Some of our companions, especially Luris, big one there. Double Shark Typhoons, Adraneth Magistrate, Voracious Great Shark is cool as well. A lot of things that help out Menace stuff as well. So pretty cool overall. And we got like 4 or 5 foil rares as well. That's pretty good, and some other cool uncommons as well. So thanks for joining me on this one here. I hope that you have a lot of luck with whatever it is that you are working on, and that I will look forward to having you back on one of these in the future. Please take care of yourself until then, and have a good afternoon, evening, or night. I look forward to seeing you back on another one.